This is the Simpit. I'm your host Sean Cole, and today I'm here to do my recap on the 4th week in the iRacing NASCAR Fixed Truck Series. For week 4, we're off to Daytona International Speedway in Daytona, Florida. The world famous racetrack is a 2.5-mile super speedway that features 4 turns on opposite ends and 31 degrees of banking in the turns. For many racers, Daytona represents a very special type of racing. It's restrictor plate racing. It's the place where drafting is king and running 2 and 3 wide is normal. It is fast, it is dangerous, and it can often be a 200-mile-per-hour crapshoot to see who wins. It also brings out the biggest crowds in all of iRacing, and you can expect to see 100 to 200 drivers per race all week long. Now, before we get to Daytona and how all the racing played out, I want to go back to week 3 and go to a mistake that I made that was pointed out by a viewer to me. I mentioned that very tragic race, the one where I DNF'd and had a bunch of incidents. It was still a terrible race and the results were not good, but that huge hit in the safety rating was due to the bump that you get in the safety rating on iRacing anytime you go below or above any of the round numbers, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. Since in that race I was going to be dropping below 4.0, it actually multiplied my losses, and therefore the drop was much higher than the same results from a different time. So in that race, the points wouldn't have been that bad. It was taking the drop that cost me more, but the good thing is when I go to cross back over 4.0, I'm going to gain those points right back. Now let's get back to Daytona. Daytona is one of those tracks that is taken flat out, wide open from the drop of the green all the way to the checkered flag. You're going to find yourself needing to lift at times in order to not run over someone ahead of you. That and any wrecks or cautions that might occur. Many people believe that Daytona is an easy track to drive, and that is absolutely true, until you add a bunch of other cars and trucks. Then you're going to find yourself running faster and closer to competition than any other track that you've ever run before. And then comes the strategy and timing that is required to not only survive Daytona, but potentially win. I once again turn to my buddy Andrew Fayash to lend some hand in the secrets of gaining speed at Daytona. This is one of those tracks where your qualifying run is going to be completely different than the line you run during a race. There were a few things that Andrew and I were going to work on, the first of which being a good qualifying run. And after a bit of instruction from Andrew, I went ahead and made that qualifying effort. At Daytona, things start off from the very moment you leave the pits. You want to get the truck up to speed as fast as possible without wheel spin or any kind of traction loss. You will immediately go up to the high line and run the entire first lap as wide as possible. The trick to speed, especially when all alone, is using as little wheel input as possible. You are flat out on the gas pedal and doing everything you can to hold on to every bit of speed coming off of turn 2. You want to let the truck roll out on the high line, again using as little wheel input as possible. As you enter turn 3, you will be nearing about 178 miles per hour at the end of the backstretch on your outlap. You enter turn 3, again very high as you can confidently run without wiggling the truck too much or touching the wall even the slightest bit, which will make your qualifying effort null and void. Meanwhile, using as little wheel input as possible and coming off of turn 4 high and wide. You're going to keep that high line all the way through the dogleg and past the start-finish line for our first timed lap. We'll enter turn 1 for the second time at about 178 miles per hour and again take that high line all the way around the corner. We are still building up our momentum from the moment that we left the pits and won't be actually timing our run until the 3rd and final lap. Coming off at turn 2 is again high and wide, still using as little wheel as possible. As we enter turn 3 again at about 178 miles per hour, we know we are about to begin our real pursuit of speed. We enter turn 3 high and wide again, but this time as we get about 2/3 the way through the corner, we want to gently start coming down the hill from the banking and building up speed exiting turn 4 down low. This will give us our final burst of speed as we begin our real flying hot lap. This time as you enter the dogleg, you want to aim for the yellow line and hold the truck down low, still being mindful of not using too much wheel input. There is no need to swing out for turn 1, as this time through the corner, we will be holding that low line all the way through turns 1 and 2. The real trick is getting down and into the corner quickly. You won't need a wide approach. The low line sucks you in, and you can use moderate steering to hold that line. Coming off a 2, you want to let the truck roll out natural and not fight the wheel as we straighten out for the backstretch. Into turn 3 for the final time. The entry is very similar to turn 1 in that you can go at it very low and let it suck you right into the low line. You will hold that all the way around again and let the truck naturally roll out of the corner down low. As we approach the dogleg, this time we are targeting the strip of apron that lets us cut the track that much shorter. Be sure not to touch the grass or push up high as we end our lap with a 52.199. This was a good lap and would lend me a top 5 starting spot most of the week. In addition to setting me up for the qualifying run, Andrew and I worked on some other things that are very unique to Daytona super speedways. At Daytona, things really start off in the draft. There's no way for one car to beat out 2 cars that are running together. However, it seems that 2 cars are better than 3 or 4 cars. Many of the pros or veterans will use the term "it takes 2 to tango," and that is the way Daytona is raced. And before you have any chances of winning, you're going to have to be a master of both pushing and leading at Daytona. Leading is fairly easy, and it comes down to your ability to hold your line and work with the truck that is pushing you. At times you will be the eyes for where your team is going, and your trailer will be blindly following you. When on the back end of this combination and pushing the truck ahead, it takes time and practice to get where you can leave your bumper kissed up on the truck ahead and pushing them all the way around the track. The best of the best can even push through the entire corner without wrecking. The real trick to drafting or being the pushing car is to push, not hit the truck ahead of you. This is especially important in the corners where many drivers don't like being touched, but the better teams push right through. The other trick when being in the rear is not overheating your engine. It only takes a few laps of being nose to tail until you see your temps rise, and it will eventually pop. Being able to pop out of the draft from time to time is necessary, but hard to do in the heat of battle. Another way to cool down the truck is to back off slightly and let the air come in the front of the truck. Both of these methods come at a great cost to overall speed. At times, when you have the room and you are working well with a driver or teammate, you might even find yourself swapping positions to protect the second car and keep that draft pushing on strong. This is achieved much like a bicycle team will do a handoff on a velodrome. The lead truck will drive hard into the corner and allow it to slide up slightly into the second lane. This allows enough room for and enough speed drop for the second truck to go underneath and pass low. A moment later, the high truck can tuck right behind, and if all goes well, we'll be pushing the lead car by the end of the corner and down the straightaway. Now the overheating car is in the lead and cooling rapidly while the team runs at maximum speed. At Daytona, the bottom line normally has a slight advantage, but that is only because of the added distance the outside lane must travel. A good group of 2, when working well, can drive the outside lane all the way around a whole group of cars. And a good draft can outperform the lower line. If you just draft well, hold a firm line, and carry lots of speed by not overusing the wheel, you can make that pass. There's also one more additional trick when it comes to running the outside line, and that is picking up a little of the side draft of the cars running down low. When running on the outside, you can cheat a little and get close to those cars on the lower line as you approach them. However, this is very delicate, and at some point those cars you are drafting will be drafting off of you. So at the end of a run, you will want to get away from those cars a little and to only use them for some initial building of speed, not a permanent draft. Now before we get down to racing, I want to talk about one more thing that is fairly unique to super speedways, and that is the concept of our loyalties, or leaving your wingman, or staying with your wingman. We are racing, and not everyone wants to play nice or run in second place. You will constantly be checking to see who is your drafting partner, and many times might find your buddy gone. But believe me, you will at some point abandon someone you are working with too. It's all part of racing at Daytona. And knowing who you are running with will go a long way in knowing how it will play out in the end. Until then, these are lap-by-lap deals, and there's still a lot of luck involved. In the end, you're going to find that racing at Daytona is not easy. Sure, everybody's as fast as everybody else, but winning, that's a whole different department. With that said, let's see how things played out for me in week 4. In the first race, I was starting in the 2nd spot with a 16th ranked truck out of 19. I was in the 3rd of 10 splits, and I started on the outside row and got a less than perfect jump on the green. But by the end of turn 1, the 3 truck had caught up, and I was in 4th place on the outside and now up to speed. And that is when the whole who is my teammate game begins with the 2-man tangos at Daytona. The 15 truck came up high, and now he is my teammate, leaving the 3 truck caught with someone behind. With the 15 truck leading the way and me pushing from behind, we drove into the lead group on lap 4. And following that run, my new best friend went up the track to let me lead the way for a while, cooling down my engine. We execute the changeover perfectly, and we are leading the way with my truck now cooling down and the 15 pushing me. On lap 6, the group on the inside get a run down low, and we are now back to battling for the lead. And then the 15 truck does something amazing. While running the high line and needing to now cool down his truck, he dives low when clear, then clears my truck, and then pulls up in front of me to now be the lead truck. I'm actually going to show this one more time because of just how awesome a move it was. Immediately following this, it did stack up the team behind us very slightly, and the aftermath there was tragic. A huge wreck that would take many of the big contenders out of the race. Following the restart, you had everyone searching for a new teamwork to work with. No loyalties were made, and the top 10 were jockeying for position. I make a huge mistake of taking a run up high 3 wide and find myself all alone and dropping all the way back to 8th spot. A lap later, and not having learned my lesson, I find myself running 3 wide again and losing my drafting partner, again rotating me backward through the field. Another couple of trucks get into each other up ahead of me and ease the pain of my mistake and bring out a caution. The final green flag restart would happen on lap 23 with 3 laps to go. I started in 7th and was the 4th man back of 2 teams of 2 running the low line. At the line for the final lap, the low line was paying off, and we were running 4 trucks nose to tail. Coming down the backstretch, me and the 14 truck get a great run. The 13 truck up ahead makes a move that pushes us wide. This turns out to be the move of the race, and he is able to tuck back behind the 17 truck, letting them finish in the top 2 positions, leaving me back in 5th place. Not a bad result, but a few things to improve on. The room strength of field was 2363, and I earned 115 championship points and improved my iRating 59 up to 2238. I had 0 incidents and gained .07 safety rating to a 3.63. For the second race, I would be starting in the 4th spot with the 5th ranked truck out of 18. It was the 3rd out of 7 total splits. I got what has now become my traditional late jump on the green flag, and I have to tell you, at this point, I'm getting a bit upset with myself about that. On lap 3, the trucks behind me get together and cause a wreck that takes out a few trucks. On lap 10, I do the unthinkable, and I drive my truck 3 wide once again. This time, me and the 4 truck are able to go around the 13, who is now without a partner. This allows me and the 4 to really start building up a run on the outside. On lap 12, we are now making a run on the outside and are making a run for the lead. Coming into turn 3, a truck somehow splits the 2 groups, sending us way up high against the wall. Then the 11 truck comes up into the high line and our bumpers touch, sending him hard into the wall as I continue on, but it brings out a caution. I dive onto pit lane to make sure the truck is in good condition, and for the restart on lap 16, I was in the 12th spot and would have to work my way through the field. A couple of laps later, I did the dumbest thing that I've done in many years. I was teamed up with a 13 truck, who was not catching the trucks ahead. I thought that the 6th truck was clear, and I wanted to swing in behind him, but I didn't realize the 8th truck was there. Like a total moron, I swing up into him like he didn't exist and ruined his day completely. I immediately apologized to him, and to this day, I can't believe the maneuver that I pulled. You know, I rarely mention anybody by name in these pieces, but once again, I want to apologize to Charles T. for that moronic maneuver. When I apologized in the room, he took it graciously, and honestly, in total embarrassment, I actually just exited the room and took the DNF. Couldn't believe what I had done. The overall strength of field for that room was 21-21, and my 15th place DNF only earned me 23 championship points, but it cost me a whopping 65 iRating, dropping me to 2173. I had 4 incidents and lost 0.14 safety rating down to a 3.49. For race number 3, I would start on the inside row in 5th place. I was the 17th ranked truck out of 20 total. And for this start, I did one of the dumbest things I have done in many years once again. I actually started the race in 3rd gear. When the green flag dropped, I had nothing. No speed, no momentum. I dropped down low to get out of the way, but in the end, I only held up everyone behind me. It ended up working out okay for me, as it allowed me and the 6th truck behind to team up and run on the outside to catch back up to the leaders. I then pulled up to let the 6th truck go low to cool down, and he pulled behind the lead group of 4, and I tried to do the same. On lap 5, the 6th truck abandons me and pulls down the lower line. I'm now up top looking to adopt a new partner. On lap 7, things start to get very intense. Me and that red, white, and blue truck had been working well together, and we're now the second team back on the outside line. Lap by lap, this continued, with each lap pushing forward each corner. This caused guys to start swerving, looking for better opportunities. On lap 12, lots of positional changes, but the same thing going on. On lap 14, I can see the 16 truck having trouble keeping with the 8, and I go wide and the 13 truck stays with me. Lap 16, you'd see more shuffling around in the pack, me all the way back to 12. By lap 19, it was more of the same, and at this point, I'd been shuffled up to 8th position. And on lap 22, coming to the line, things really started to get crazy. The pack went 3 wide as the time to make a move started to disappear. We run 3 wide for several corners until the inevitable happened and trucks started spinning everywhere. I got a bit of damage and kept it running, but the field was locked under caution and I would finish in 15th spot. The room's strength of field was 23-33, and 15th place got me 38 championship points. I lost 39 iRating, dropping me to 2134. I had 4 incidents and lost 11 safety rating, bringing me down to 3.38. In the 4th race, I was in the 2nd of 5 splits. I started in 4th place with the 9th ranked truck out of 16 total. By lap 3, I had shuffled back to 10th spot, failing to pick up a teammate. 3 laps later, I had shuffled all the way back to 15th place, bringing up the rear, but now me and the 3 truck had hooked up and we began our climb. By lap 11, I am back in the hunt, running 9th at the tail of the lower line. Then on lap 14, me and that red, white, and blue truck find ourselves working together once again and push up on the outside. One truck gets knocked off the driving line, and we are now in contention on the outside line. That truck that got off the line came back up onto the track, then hits the 6th truck, spinning him out. A moment later, he seems to contemplate retaliation and stops his truck right on the track. This leaves the 2 truck nowhere to go but smashing into this unexpected truck. This obviously brought out the caution, raised some tempers, and had us looking at a restart on lap 19. That restart would happen from 4th place, and I got a good jump behind my new buddy in the 4 truck. We stayed in 3rd and 4th spots, waiting to time a run for the finish. On lap 20, the same. On lap 21, the same. Lap 21 saw a run on the outside by the next group back, and we followed them up high. We ended up carrying a ton of speed and were starting to make a run all the way to the front, but an untimely caution came out due to a few mid-pack trucks fighting for position and causing a wreck. This would lock the field and we would finish under caution with me in 5th place. The room's strength of field was 20-56 and my 5th place finish would earn me 93 championship points. I earned 41 iRating up to 2175, and I had 0 incidents, gaining .07 to a 3.45 safety rating. And now I have a very important decision to make here. I earned 115 points in that first race. The other 3 complete garbage, with the next best race finish being 93 championship points. If you average 93 and 115, it gives you 104, and I'd actually be giving up 11 points to just calling it quits right now and ending the week with 115. But this is Daytona. I am having so much fun. I want to race, and I had to race, so I charged in, risking everything, and now it's going to be that 115 points and whatever my next best finish ends up being. I made the second split out of 4 and would start the race in 2nd position with the 8th ranked truck out of 19. At the drop of the green, the leader got a huge jump on everyone. This proved to hurt him as the 4 truck started right on my bumper and right into the draft. By the backstretch, we had cleared the leader and dropped down low, running 1 and 2. We maintained those positions for many laps, and each time a group would get a run, the 4 would close up and we would defend that run. When it was over, he would cool his truck back down. This guy was a real pro. By lap 9, 2 different groups would get runs on us and try to take us high on the outside. Each time that 4 truck would close in and we would fight them off, and then he would wisely cool his engine again. On lap 14, we are still leading with other groups trying to mount an attack. On lap 16, finally things would break, and a group behind us got together and brought out the first caution. The real shame in this is that I would now be starting with the guy who had pushed me all race long on the outside row. That restart would come on lap 19, and everyone chomping at the bit for a dance partner and a shot at the win. I got a good jump, but was waiting on the 3 truck to catch me. And then it was on, with the 4 truck on the outside getting a push from the 11. By lap 21, it felt like it was just down to the 4 trucks with a shot at the win, until finally me and the 3 truck break clear. Then on lap 23, the 4 and 11 were making another run on the outside. And this time, the 4 truck takes the lead for the first time, and there's only 2 to go. Down the backstretch, they clear us and pull down low. I eyeball the outside to see if we can come past them again with 2 to go. The 3 truck is now also searching for a spot to go and is looking like the 4 and 11 had pulled off a 1-2 finish. We just didn't have the speed, and the next group of trucks were now getting a run on us. I end up abandoning the 3 truck, then completely blocking the 18 truck and placing my truck firmly in 3rd place. While coming to the line, the 11 truck cooks his engine, and I inherit 2nd place behind the much-deserved win by the 4 truck. The room's strength of field was 2020, and the 2nd place finish got me 119 points and a gain of 78 iRating, bringing me to 2253. I had 0 incidents and picked up .08 safety rating up to 3.53. With that final race, I actually gained a few championship points, and it actually scored races 1 and races 5 for a total of 115 plus 119, giving me an average of 117 points for the week. Looking back on week 4, there are a few things that I can take away. First off, the restarts. I still am having a hard time getting on the gas quickly, timing those starts, and staying with the cars in front. Gonna have to work on that more. There are also a handful of times when instead of lifting and staying in line, I shot it up 3 wide, and it usually didn't pay off. I also learned the hard way myself, as well as hanging out a few to dry in the old concept of don't leave your wingman. You really need to just stick with your drafting partner. Another noticeable thing from the week was my qualifying time. I got a good run in. It actually had me starting in the top 5 for every race, and that made my life just a little bit easier. So it was a good week in the end, but it does leave me a few things to improve on moving forward next time I run at Daytona or at Talladega for that matter. I hope you've learned a little, and maybe it's going to help you a little bit at the super speedways as well. If you have any comments on this show, please head over to thesimpit.com and post your comments there to this video. If you do, I'm going to do my best to answer each and every one of them. This is the Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.